Okay, Penny Martinez, thank you so much for coming on the Happiest Retirees podcast.
Well, thank you for asking me. It's I just never considered myself a worthy guest of a podcast, so this is a first for me.
Well, we
So
are lucky to have you on. All the other shows that don't have you are not fortunate. And
well, I
thanks for coming
appreciate
on. 'Cause
that.
I know you said you're just techie enough to be dangerous, but I think you're doing pretty
Yes.
well here.
Yeah, I can follow instructions, so I can read. And God bless America, I've got a college degree, so I figured that out how to read. So
Yes.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
okay, let's start out with the basics here. Why are you a happy retiree, and why should people listen to your story?
Well, I was born with a, like I said, with a service heart. So I love giving back. I've always done that since I was knee high to a weed. I emulated my parents. My parents are the same way. They both had full-time jobs. I remember my mom, she was, working. She had raised 7 children, working, going to school, trying to get a master's degree. So they've done it all. So they always gave back. They were Brownie leaders, Boy Scout leaders. They coached all our little leagues. They were heavily involved. They knew all my friends. They knew all the parents. They immersed themselves in my life. So they knew everything. So, but we were always giving. We were always volunteering in the community. We always gave back because we were very blessed. We were all very blessed. We had a roof over our head, clothes on our car, very loving parents. And so you give back. And that was just a way of life. And so I've continued that on. I've never given it up because I tell people, it's not for everybody. Most people I get, what's in it for me? Well, I say helping your fellow man. And once you get that feeling, once you've seen you've made a tangible difference in somebody's life, be it very small, you're never going to give that up. It is amazing. So I've been doing this my entire life. My goal was to retire early. That was my goal, my sole purpose. And I figured that out when I was 6 years old.
How did you
So,
figure that out when you were 6 years old?
well, it's just my folks. They were smart. They didn't have a boatload of money. They had 7 children.
Oh
But
my
they paid
gosh.
them. I have 6 brothers. I'm the only girl.
Okay.
Most people, when they
Wow.
get to know me, now I understand why you're the way you
Yeah.
are. Okay, 6 boys.
Right.
I get it. But my folks, my father always stressed, pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. You're a bill. Pay yourself first. That was drilled into all of us. And so I just took it further than all my brothers did. I just decided, okay, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So starting at 6 years old, that was my first job at 6. I was pulling weeds for Mrs. Tommen. So that's what I
Thank
did.
you,
So
Mrs. Tommen. She was
yes, yes. And yes. And she was a retired educator. She's a retired
Oh, okay.
educator. So she gave me my first job pulling weeds. And so I started collecting my money from there. So that's
Wow,
what I all
okay.
started. And I hung on to it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, because you said you made your first investment at 18?
Yes, my first investment at 18 years. I started investing at 18 years old in my life, in what I was going to do. So I sat down with a retirement, a Fidelity individual, and I said, and he's like looking at me like, okay, he's looking at me like I'm from Mars. Okay, you're
Yeah.
not normal. You're not normal. Well, that's what my parents did, and they're both Depression era. They didn't have a lot. They
Mhm.
grew up very poor, but they put themselves through school. My mom got her master's degree. I witnessed all of this, raising a family, and so I saw all of this, and I said, well, if I could be half like her, I would be thrilled. And that was my sole purpose. So I started investing at 18 years of age for the long term, because the women in my family live into their 90s. My
Oh,
mother was
wow,
90.
okay.
She was 93. My grandmother was 96. So all the women on my mom, we all live a long age. So I got to make sure I can have enough money to be able to plan into my 90s, because I figure that's how long I'm going to be around this planet Earth.
Yeah,
Till
you're
the
pretty
Lord
much
takes me home.
You're still a puppy. You still have tons of time.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'll turn 63 next month on the 5th. So I turned 63 and I retired. My goal, my father retired when he was 55, and my goal was to retire before him. And I
And you
did.
retired at
45.
45.
I retired at 45 years old. Yeah.
Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, that's just so
Hmm.
impressive that you were able
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, I went without, like I told you in my questions. I lit without. I didn't keep up with the Joneses. A lot of my friends were traveling all over Europe and doing all those big extravagant things, which is great. I don't hold it against them. I think that's super. But see, I'm low maintenance, and I don't. My goal was to retire at 45, so I can still travel. I can still do those things. I'm still able-bodied, and I can still pay my bills. And plus, I'm debt-free. I don't owe any other than my
Yeah.
incidentals. I'm debt-free, so. I own my
Wow.
house, so yeah, I own my cars.
You
You
might need to
know?
also be on our other podcast about that gets more into the finances because you seem to have it down.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's just a low risk, long term. I knew when I was gonna retire at 45 and I started 18. I I look, I didn't have any bills. I went to college on scholarships, basketball scholarships and
I
stuff.
didn't know that. A basketball
Oh,
scholarship?
yeah. Oh, yeah, I went to the University of Idaho.
Okay.
I was a vandal,
A
and
vandal,
so
yeah.
I was a vandal, and, Tara Vanderveer, she now coaches at Stanford. That was her first
Oh,
coaching job when she graduated from Indiana. So
wow.
she was
Okay.
my college coach for 2 years before then she left to, Ohio. Then she went to Ohio.
Were you
And so
rivals with Boise State?
oh,
Were the
yeah, we used to
Vandals
beat
right?
the tar out of them all the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, we had a Tara was smart. Tara was, and that's another thing. She was real smart. So it was her first coaching job. So she went out and recruited community college kids.
Mm,
She
mhm.
didn't get it. I was a freshman. There was a few of us, but most of them were community college because hey, she wanted to build a program really, really quick. So
Yeah.
not a bunch of youngsters like me that didn't know anything about college or going to college. So she recruited a bunch of 2-year community college recruits. And yeah, we were quite the powerhouse. And that was before, I'm dating myself, that was before the 3-point shot. We used a
Oh, yeah.
regular basketball. Now it's smaller and 1-inch circumference. And we weren't the NCAA. We were the AIAW.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so at least we didn't wear skirts, so it's not like my mom, when
Yeah.
she played basketball, it was just that they had an offensive team and a defensive team, and that either team passed the half court, so I like nothing like that, but my mom was a kind of a pseudo, she was a high jumper too, so was I, but she did the
Oh,
scissor kick in her difference, she did the scissor kick into sawdust, where I did the Fosbury flop, so but
the
I
flaws is
was
that what is it? The flaws flaws?
Fosbury flop, so you're flipping yourself over backwards,
Oh,
kind of,
that's the
the
standard way they
Fos
do it now, right?
That's the
Yeah.
way they do it now, yeah. So anyway, I look back when you gave me these questions, I look back on my life and I have to pinch myself, Ryan, because I am extremely blessed. And so that's the other reason why I give back. Because quite
Yeah.
frankly, none of it's ours, as we all know, none of it's ours. If my Lord and Savior came here and said, Penny, I want you to give it all up, okay.
Yeah.
And
And
as
that
you, yeah.
attitude is so fantastic though. Not everyone has that attitude.
Well, it took me a while to get this attitude. I didn't initially have it. My mother was a
Right.
Christian, and stuff. My father was an atheist.
Oh, okay.
So it was a really interesting, household, so he was,
Yeah.
really super smart. He's a mathematician, and, my mom was, English major, but she like I said, she taught special education, so she had the patience of Job, which fit perfectly into our brood, that she had to be, patient with all of us, a diverse group of human beings.
Yeah,
So,
with 6 boys and 1 girl.
all
I
right.
mean, I
She
can't
said I was harder
imagine.
to raise than yeah, she said I was harder to raise than them. Which is
Really?
really interesting. Yeah, which is really interesting because I didn't really cause any problems, but I questioned a lot of things. They couldn't just say, "I told you so." They actually had to give me an explanation. I might not have agreed
Yeah.
with it, like most
Yeah.
teenagers do not, but I
Right.
respected it. So they respected me, I respected them, and I went along with it. So it is what it is. So I didn't get my driver's license until I was 18. I could not get
Oh,
none of us could get our driver's license until we were 18 years of age. And then, once we had that, if you wanted a car, you're on your own. You had to buy your own insurance, buy your own car. I'm not paying for nothing. So they didn't That's what depression era is. So they didn't get anything. They worked for everything. If you want it, you're going to have to go get it. So this is what I tell everybody. This is the story of my family. When you turned 18 and you graduated from high school, that was the day I left home. That was it. That was the day. So you were taught that you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You were taught you have to make your own way. Because
Yeah.
that was it. You're gone. So when I got home on my graduation day, I had my blue Samsonite suitcase, which I still have to this day. They had the
Wow.
the one ads on top, and they broke my dinner plate, and they said, "Good luck." So,
Oh my
but
god.
I knew
Wait, they
that
broke
from
it saying you can't come back or
well,
you're out
that
type
was
of
the
thing?
whole thing.
Yeah.
You're on your way. I've given you wings. I've taught you
Oh
right
my
from
gosh.
wrong. So
Yeah.
I've given you wings. Have a nice life. Now, of course, I came home, but I was always a visitor.
Right.
Once that was it. But that was taught as soon as I could roll over and understand. You knew
Yeah.
this was coming. And plus, I witnessed it in front of all my brothers. So I had examples of what was going to occur. So
Yeah.
given that, I all of that, I wanted to make sure that I could stand on my own 2 feet, make mistakes, understand that, pick myself back up and continue on without just freaking out. Because my father always, when I'd come to ask him a question about anything, he said, "What have you done for coming to me?" Now, yes, that used to frustrate the heck out of me because I said, "Can't you just give me the answer? Just give me the answer."
Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah.
honey. What if I wasn't here? What would you do?
Mm.
So you got to think outside the box. So they taught me all that kind of stuff before. Now it's a big deal. Oh, yeah, teach outside the box. Well, I was raised that way.
Yeah.
So
You were never in
my
the
parents,
box.
I was no. So I was taught that, and so that's how I started. And I just emulated them. I watched what my parents did, and they were successful and everything. So I just went, "Oh, well, this works." But I watched my brothers; they made mistakes. I said, "Well, I'm not going down that path. I'm just going to go in the opposite direction." So I was blessed with having. They made all these mistakes up right in front of me, so I didn't have to do the same thing. So it was
Yeah.
really kind of great, and I thank my brothers every single day for
Thanks for making so many mistakes, brothers.
exactly. Well, of
Yeah.
course, you're going to make mistakes,
Yeah.
but but we were taught how to get out of those and not to do it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a, I filling out your questions. It's amazing how blessed I am. Amazing. So
Well, I'm glad we could help you see it. Well, so as far as your commitment to volunteering, it's so interesting because
yes,
we do a lot of research around happy retirees, and that volunteering is always at the top of the list for what happy retirees like to do. So you're right on track with that. I mean, not that you needed
yeah.
my my certification for it,
Well,
but yeah,
yeah. It's common sense. I mean, it's fun to give back, and you can actually see the differences, and it's fun to give people hope because a lot of
yeah.
people. Look, I'm a cancer survivor. I've survived breast cancer twice, so I
Wow,
figured, hey, the Lord
twice.
has twice. Yeah, once I was in my 30s. It's a genetic. It's genetic. My grandmother had it. My mother had it, but they were all in their late 60s. I started
Mm,
out in my 30s, but I think that's part of it because it was stress related because I was such a driver.
mm,
There was no slowing me down because I have goals. I've always been goal oriented. I've been taught to be goal oriented. I still am goal oriented. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
I think a lot of had to do with putting so much pressure on myself to meet or exceed my goals that my immune system or whatever triggered it quickly than my parents, and plus the different stresses. It's just the
yeah.
world is completely different, and I had to learn to strengthen my coping skills.
Oh, I bet.
Um, you know,
Yeah,
s-
and
so
that's
yeah,
like going to the gym, but for emotions, right? Like that's like
right,
learning an actual skill. Yeah.
right. And so I had to readjust myself and slow down, reevaluate what I
Mhm.
was doing, try to find maybe smarter ways of what I was doing versus putting so much pressure on myself. So I had to back off, but that's the good Lord talking to you. It was a God thing. And, and then of course, like any human being, you revert back, you start doing
Yeah,
it again.
yeah, yeah.
And then it hit me again, in my 50s.
Oh,
So,
okay, because you had
that's
gotten
or
more, like,
well, it's actually
intense.
yeah, so I got back into that again. So then, it was yeah, so I told you in my notes, why I retired, at 45,
Yeah.
because I went to a trip to Italy with my mom for her 80th birthday, came back being pulled like Gumby. That's what it felt like, Gumby.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I cannot do this. This is not worth it." So, time to go. So,
Yeah.
that's when I cut the apron strings, and I love my job.
That was
I was at
when you worked at
Stanford.
Stanford University?
I was the administrative services manager, so what I did is I supervised all the finance, student services, facilities, the labs. So I supervised all the management level of those different departments, and plus I of course we had 26 faculty, and then you have postdocs and grad students. So I was over all of that, and is actually I love being around really really smart people. I mean, these people, but they gave me a little levity because they were so super smart, which they are, off the charts, brilliant people doing some amazing research, but they have no common sense whatsoever. So I could tell you all
Yeah.
sorts of stories with Stanford faculty. Brilliant people, but wow.
Well,
Uh,
because you like
yeah.
being around smart people so much, I wanna thank you for also deciding to be around me, the opposite of, for slumming it here with me. But, it's funny because I worked around some geniuses at a job that I had, and it's exactly like what you said. They were amazingly smart, but they couldn't figure out how to, like, make a pot of coffee, It was just
Right.
this
Change a light
weird.
bulb, change a battery.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's like their brain was all used up on the genius parts. They couldn't do the
Yeah.
the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a little levity I got from my job. That brought me home. I helped them with their checkbooks. I mean, you've the basic the basic stuff we're not taught these kids because again, they're
Yeah.
bright. They're incredibly
Yeah.
bright, but they didn't know how to change oil. They didn't know how to change a car. I had to show them
Yeah.
ATM machines. I mean, they didn't know how to do checkbooks. It's just all this basic stuff that I took for granted because I was taught that at a very young age. I knew how to do a checkbook. I knew how, and they had no clue
Yeah.
whatsoever. So yeah, so all those survival skills, I started just interjecting myself and
Yeah.
helping them out. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was fun.
That is great. It is so as far as the volunteering, do you wanna talk about some of the specific ways you do it now?
Well, like I said, when I first okay, so I told my husband I want to leave. He was like, "Okay, where do you want to go?" Because he's a California boy, so we're not leaving
Yeah. Oh,
California. I mean,
okay.
I'm not leaving. Do anything you want, Penny, but we're not leaving California. So,
Okay.
so my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they were moving up from San Diego. They're getting ready to retire, moving closer to us in the Bay Area, and so they found Bakersfield. They found the Del Webb here in Bakersfield. I said, "Oh, okay, great. So, hey, why don't you come on down and take a look?" Well, okay, I fell in love with this area. Then I started doing research on Bakersfield. In
Okay.
2006, it was the fastest growing city in California at that time. And I'm a
Okay.
total volunteer, and they had the largest volunteer organization in the nation.
Oh my
So I'm like,
gosh.
okay, this is the place where I want to go. So he was stuck into my head. That was before we even moved away. That was stuck in my head. And I thought, well, that would be a fun place. So, and it is centrally located. It's near the mountains. If you want to go to LA, it's really close. You want to go to the coast, it's really close. Well, holy cow, that's great. So I didn't look at the negatives. I said to tell people, hey, I'm thinking about going to Bakersfield. Oh no, Bakersfield is the armpit of California. I'm like, what? So you're blaming it on our topography? What? It's not our fault that we happen to be in a valley in a bowl. It's
Right.
LA and all the other people going through and sludge and all that kind of stuff. So it has, but the people. Now, I've lived in a lot of places, and it's the people here that I've got more friends here, Ryan, than I've ever had in my entire life. And I mean friends. If something happened to my husband or me, they'd be there and immediately, and they put up with my idiosyncrasies. Those people that know my quirks, that tolerate me. And so I always live by Leah Coca's deal. If you have 5 close friends that put up with your idiosyncrasies, that know all your faults and stuff, and love you anyway, and would be there for you, consider yourself a very lucky person. So I
Yeah.
consider myself, I have really true friends here, that a thick or thin, if I had to make a call, they would be here.
That's amazing.
So
And you met I mean, that was like not like childhood friendships. Those were people
no,
you met later in life and instantly
yeah,
had that kind of, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
it's great. And it
we
keeps
need to
adding.
send,
I mean,
I was going to say we should send that clip over to the Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce because you're really making it sound like an amazing spot, you know?
I love the people here, not just in my community,
Yeah.
but just in Bakersfield and Kern County as a whole. As you know, I'm a veteran, so I'm heavily.
Yeah.
I got involved in little stuff. I volunteered in my HOA. I live in a homeowners association, so I volunteered on committees because look, I'm 45 years old. People got to get used to me.
Right. You have
So
more
the
energy
only
than
way.
them at that, right? At that point. Like,
Exactly. Well,
yeah.
yeah, the average age here is 76. So I was
Yeah.
45 years old, and my mother always told me, do you understand what you've moved yourself into? Do you understand?" I said, "Mom, they're 55 and above. They have their act together."
Because it's
Okay,
a
dokie.
senior
So
living community, right? 55
exactly.
and
It's a
older.
senior
Yeah.
55 and older. One person has to be 55. So the only way for people to get used to me is I got to get involved. So I was able to get on different committees, our design review committee, or we had a safety and security committee, a social committee. I planned events. I
Yeah.
started immersing myself to get. I actually ran for the board.
Oh, okay.
That was crazy.
That yeah,
I
it
ran
gets
for.
pretty
Yeah.
intense, right?
Yeah, well, my stint was, and see, my time, I figure my time is very valuable. It's very valuable. Once I give it, I can never get it back. So I'm
Yeah.
very careful of how I give my time and my energy and my skills, because I can never get it back. And so I really truly wanted to make a difference. Well, I came on the board right before the pandemic hit.
Oh,
Came on in
okay.
March of 2020. Boom, the pandemic hit. So we had a new general manager, a brand new board, and now we were dealing with a pandemic. The
That's a
perfect
lot.
storm. It was
Yeah.
it was it was nuts. So unfortunately things didn't didn't pan out. and
Okay.
and and I decided to no, I'm not running again. I'm moving on. So I call it I get outside the compound. I'm outside the
Okay.
compound, outside the walls.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I feel I can make a difference. So a woman here that lives one of my neighbors, good friends, got me involved with the Bakersfield Republican Women.
Okay.
And so I got involved in that, and I'm the Caring for America chair. So what that means is
Okay.
I reach out to nonprofits, I tell them who I am, and most of the time when I say Republican, everybody's leaning back with their arms crossed, legs crossed, and I said, "That's okay. That's okay. I will just prove to you that there is a group of women that all live here that all care." And so I
Yeah.
said, "How can we help you?" So that's what I do. I reach out to nonprofits and I say, "How can we help you with your mission?"
Right.
So I'm
Well,
I'm involved in a plethora of things through
I
that.
would think that when people come at it from that attitude, really the uh kind of preconceived notions of whatever political party you are start to melt away and people just realize
It
your
it
heart,
took it
you
took a
know?
while. Yeah, it took a while. It
Yeah.
took 2 years. It
Yeah.
took 2 years of action. And I understand
Right.
it because you're bombarded by a perceived notion of who we are.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I'm supposed to be really super rich. Of course, I'm white, but I can't do anything about that. And I'm
Right,
supposed to be
right.
selfish. I'm supposed to be selfish. So I didn't say anything. I I
Yeah.
I let my I let our actions speak for themselves. And it was all action. You tell me what you need, I'll get it for you.
Right. Well,
So that's what we
that
did.
seems like a smart, I mean, if someone sees you picking up trash, it's hard for them to say, "Who's that
Yeah.
selfish person over there?" You know?
Yeah. So we adopted the street. We adopted
Yeah.
Cottonwood.
Okay.
Everybody
And
deserves right, right. So I went to the city of Bakersfield, keep Bakersfield beautiful. I said, "Hey, I want to adopt a street." She goes, "Where do you want to adopt it?" I said, "Well, I want it within the city limits. Why don't you give me District 5?" District 5 is like the I guess a low income whatever, and I said, well, I'll go there because everybody deserves to live on a clean street. I don't care
Yeah.
who you are, how you live, what you do for a living. I don't care. So we adopted from what is it? Coma, what is it? Comalinda to East White Lane. That whole
Oh, that's a
part
big
of
area, isn't it?
yeah, so we go out
Yeah.
there and we pick up trash, but usually we get people waving hands. Some people I get people pulling over, "Hey, what group are you from? Or what do you do?" And I said, "Well, we're the Bakers for Republican Women." And they're like, they have the initial, "Huh?" Shock. And then they're like, "Well, cool, good for you." And I said, "Well, hey, you know, just
That I
because
would
I'm a
love to
member of
see
a
that reaction.
it is great. It's classical. We always get
Yeah.
thumbs up. We get people honking horns. We get people pulling over saying thank you. And but yes, I mean, this is what I always say: if people just gave 1 hour a week, everybody, what an amazing world we'd live in.
Oh my
Amazing
gosh, you're
world.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, just 1 hour,
Yeah.
just 1 hour, one
Yeah.
hour a week, an amazing
Right.
world. Mhm.
You don't have to try to change the world in,
No,
every single day. Just do your part, you know?
right,
Yeah.
1 hour.
And speaking of, you also support, I think, the Bakersfield Pregnancy Center
Yes,
and
yes. So,
human
so I go down
trafficking.
there. Right, human trafficking. I do a lot of human trafficking. I got involved. The previous president of our Bakers for Republican Women, she goes, Penny, I want to do with something with human trafficking. Okay, so I just took off and ran with it. So we hooked
Oh,
up
you
with all the
started that.
nonprofit.
Wa
Oh yeah, we hooked up with
wow.
all the nonprofits that deal with human trafficking. So we've supported all of their programs at different events that they do. We all show up. We're doing donation drives. We're doing everything that we can to shed the light on. It is amazing how bad this is. Now I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I sat down with Cynthia Zimmer, our district attorney, and let her explain it to me and her task force. I was appalled. I went from being just really super angry to wanting to throw up in a trash can.
Oh, yeah.
It
Just
was
how
amazing because
prevalent it is, or
yes, we are a
oh,
hub.
man.
California is
Really?
number one in the nation. California is number one in the nation. Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
And I
Something
don't
not to
know,
be
I'm
proud of.
sure I'm so off on this, but I at least had the opinion that, oh, that human trafficking is probably not that's something that happens in other countries, but it happens a lot here, right?
Oh, United States is number 1. Yeah, it's
Oh my
it's
gosh.
huge.
Yeah.
California, like I said, California is number 1, and we're probably got the most calls to the hotline coming out of Kern County.
Oh,
The
wow.
Union
Okay.
Avenue is known as the Blade.
The
That's
blade.
where all as they call it, that's the slang, because I work with a couple of, women who are survivors. So they both have nonprofits, so we support them. One is, Empowerment, the Des Perkins, Foundation. She is a counselor at a local high school. She works with at-risk, high school students, trying to save them from going in that direction. And so she has her own foundation. The other one is Angelica Zuniga and her husband, Julian. They have Redeemed Home. And
Mm,
so she helps survivors that are 18 and older.
okay.
So yeah, it's huge here.
Yeah.
It's huge. So it's
I
all
did
about
not know it was that big.
yeah, it's horrible. So I could say they say what your kids are one click away.
Oh my
You
gosh,
don't know
that's
what your kids are
terrifying.
doing on the internet. Yep. You could be you think you're talking to another 13-year-old or 14-year-old, but it happens to be a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Is it? It's huge.
How do
So
if someone wanted to help with what you do, I mean, even if they don't live in Bakersfield, is there some website they can go to give or anything like that?
sure. I mean, you could start out just at a national human trafficking there, and then you can get down to the community level, and you can find tons. I mean, there's Jameson House. I mean, the Mission. Open Door Network. I mean, I could go on and on and on
Oh, okay.
and on, and they need tons of help. They need because they house these folks. They try to house them and educate them and try to get them back to productive, and it's not a quick fix. Uh,
Yeah.
so just picture. I can't even imagine. It's really hard for me to fathom. But the two young women that I spoke about, they were trafficked by their own mothers.
Oh,
It's
no.
usually you're trafficked by somebody you know. That's usually what happens. And so when they are then survived and got off the streets and stuff and help, it's not a quick fix. They
Yeah.
have heavy duty drama. The other organization that I work with a lot is called the Daughters Project, and they're with the Global Family and Care Network, and their local here is called the Daughters Project, and so those are young ladies under the age of 17
Okay.
or 17 and younger.
And I
So
yeah, but I would think it's a long process because even if you were able to get them out physically, there's a whole lot of emotional baggage that needs to be
yeah,
they need
yes,
to heal and
it's
yeah.
it's it's years. The two
Yeah.
young women I talked about, they still struggle with it. They'll deal
Yeah.
with it for the
Yeah.
rest of their lives. But so then what we do is just simple acts of kindness. Simple acts of
Yeah.
kindness. We help at-risk kids. Some of these kids don't have never gone to Great America or any amusement park or a beach or anything like that. So those are the kind of things that we participate. They put together an event and then we help them get to that event. So we offer our resources, money, donations, food, clothing. We went over to the Daughters Project and we made Christmas ornaments.
Oh, is that the wreath? What
So,
did you call that? Wreaths across
oh no,
America?
that's a different thing. That's a vet thing.
Oh, that's another one.
That's a completely different deal. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so we do simple stuff like that. We come over and we make, but we asked them for their gifts, what kind of things they'd like for Christmas, and so we got Christmas gifts. Just simple acts of kindness, things that are really simple to do. Now, as a segue, not even a segue, but my other thing is I'm a United States Air Force veteran.
Okay.
And so since I've lived here, I've always participated in Wreaths Across America, which is nationwide. It
Oh.
started in Maine. It's nationwide, but we have our own Bakersfield National Cemetery here. I will be buried there when the good
Oh.
Lord takes me home.
Hopefully not for a long
So
time, but
hopefully not for a long time, right? I hope I get
yeah,
into my
yeah.
90s, maybe beat out my grandma and stuff. That'd be
Yeah.
cool, as long as I'm
Yeah.
able-bodied and function.
You'll show
Yeah,
her.
right. So Reese Across America is a program where we have 7,000 plus grave markers, honorable women who have served their country honorably. That we wanted to make sure that they are constantly honored. We teach the young people about what freedom's all about. It's not free. People died for it. So you
Yeah.
can do what all the things that you hold dear, going to church, going to school, having First Amendment rights, Second Amendment
Yeah.
rights, all those things in the Constitution. There's somebody that fought for those, so you can have those. So that's another thing we got involved with. It started out with the Bakersfield Republican Women being one of 16 sponsorship groups. So we've got organizations, we got corporations, we got, Democratic women of Kern are involved. We got, the Civil Air Patrol, we got the Bakersfield Police Department. So there's several organizations that became sponsorship groups. But what we found out was we have a location coordinator at that time was not responsive. And so then he left to San Francisco, and then we took over as location coordinators in October of this year. So we were
Okay.
successful. We were successful in getting the total purpose is to have a wreath on every single grave marker out there. And what was really cool for this year is we have our Jewish brothers and sisters in arms are also buried out there. We wanted to honor
Oh,
them. We wanted to honor
wow.
them. So we got permission from Washington, D.C., the cemetery's administration department gave us permission to put menorahs on our Jewish brothers and sisters in arms,
How
and
cool.
and that's the first of its kind in the Western United States. So what we're trying to do is present what we've done to our Region 4, which handles our section of the United States for Research Across America. We're trying to let them know, hey, this is what we've done, and we should spread it across the United States. Everybody should be doing this, honoring all of our veterans, regardless of their religion.
There needs to be a Penny Martinez volunteering school where you teach because the if more people could do all this, you're right, the world would just be really cooking.
Yeah, you just
Wow.
find what drives you,
Yeah.
You just find what drives you, what gets you out of bed, what excites you, where you can use your skill sets that you hone throughout your adult life and your career, and then you give those giving back. It's not just monetary. You got a mind above your shoulders.
Yeah.
Continue to use it because otherwise it'll just turn to mush. So you're learning something new every day. I'm meeting some absolutely amazing, amazing people here in Kern County. Just phenomenal people.
Yeah.
Thinking of others before they think of themselves. I call them doers. You hear that
Yeah.
term all the time, doers. Well, I love being in a room full of doers.
Yeah. I like
That
doers on the
is a lot of
rocks.
fun. Yeah, well, that too, yes. But it's just I don't know. I it just gives me like it gives me joy. So
Yeah.
every day I'm doing something, making phone calls or just simple stuff. It doesn't have to be something really big. And I do dabble in politics a little bit. So it's not my favorite thing. It is definitely
Yeah.
not my favorite thing to do, but it's important because you got to be informed. You got to be informed. You can't just stick your head in the sand and not be involved. So you got to be involved to a certain extent and understand who you're voting for and why you're voting for it. So yeah, I dabble a little bit. It's not my big thing, but it's my weakness.
People forget that there
Yes.
is a part of politics that's actually like useful. It's not all just the
Yes.
there's
Rhetoric.
policy,
Yeah.
there's standard protocol,
Right.
whatever. Not that I'm an expert, but yeah. And what I like about the way you talk about everything, there's no ego in any of this. I mean, if someone thinks one way about you, you don't get offended. You just change their mind, and then
Yep.
I don't know. I wish it's just very, very impressive that the way you handle all this.
Well, again, thank God for my parents. I thank God for them every single day. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I thank God for my parents every single day because I am who I am today because of God and because of the parents that He gave me.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's pretty simple, and I thank
Well,
God for them every single day, every
that's
day.
just beautiful. And I mean, all the people you're helping now, they want to thank your parents too for bringing you into the world and everything you're doing.
Yeah,
Penny, how would you say these? So we consider core pursuits sort of like hobbies on steroids type of things you're really passionate
right.
about, and
Yeah,
volunteering is seems like the top of your list. You could tell me some
yep.
other ones you might do too, but how have these made you happier in your life or in your
Wow.
retirement or life? Everything.
Well, I wrote a couple of things. Why did I pick them? Because there's things that's on my. If you could see in my wall, my mom when I was growing up, my mom was the eternal optimist. Now, as a teenager, it used to drive me crazy. And any normal teenager growing up,
Yeah.
she put affirmations in my lunch bag. She'd
Really?
have affirmations in my lunch bag, affirmations in my underwear drawer. There wasn't any place that I would not go with my mom would be putting positive affirmations everywhere. It didn't
Was
matter
it
what I was doing.
was it like a
And
kitten
so
hanging off the ledge and it said hang
yeah,
in there or
exactly.
something? Okay, yeah.
She was not a glass half full. She was the eternal optimist.
Yeah.
She always looked at the positive side of everything. And when the hormones kick in at 15, you're stupid, and you haven't quite grasped that concept. She's
Yeah.
always smiling, no matter what happened. She would look at the positive side of something, and it rubs off on you.
Yeah.
It just does. So that's how I look at stuff. But it's also like I said, I wrote the Greek philosopher. So I have these big signs in my office. So the Aristotle once said that the essence of life is to serve others and do good. I'm not a goody two shoes because I do make mistakes and sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. I do, but I live by that. I've lived by that, and I told you I wrote a scripture, Acts 20:35. In all things I have shown you that by working hard, this way we must help the weak, and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how He Himself said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Now,
Yeah.
my mother beat on that, constantly said that through my entire life, up until the day she died. So that's what I live by, and that's what brings me joy. I love helping people. I love giving out hugs. I love giving out words of encouragement. And I love seeing young people succeed in their dreams and their goals up against an amazing amount of adversity. And they were able to overcome through a village of people supporting them. And they were able to overcome it. And then what the cool thing is, then you see them in adulthood paying it forward.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then it's just a circle. And it's
So
just a
you see a lot
circle.
of that.
And it
People
just,
maybe people you've
oh,
helped, you see them helping
yes,
others?
yes, yeah. Yep, it's
Oh,
amazing.
how
It's the
cool.
coolest thing ever. It's the coolest thing ever, and it just keeps paying. It's like a ripple. It just keep going and going and going and going, and then I bring other people. You know, I have people around here saying, "I'm bored." Oh no, okay, come with me. Come with me. Come with me. And so I've got people now that are working, volunteering full time at the mission. Once I hook them up with one thing, then that is just grew. So we have a lot of that at the Bakersfield Pregnancy Centers the same way. So we do every October we hold we host a baby shower, and
Mm,
that is just amazing. That is amazing because you know what? Some of the things we got to get rid of is stigmas.
yeah.
You know, we do a
It
lot of
doesn't
things with
help.
domestic.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So you think people that go to the Bakersfield Pregnancy Center, well, yes, they made a mistake. Yes, they have a pregnancy, but hey, we decided to keep it. Thank God they don't change their minds. So that's we do a lot of kind of stuff like that. So you try to help people. You try to support those people. They decide to keep their child because they made a mistake. Oops. And instead of
Yeah.
just beating them over the head and being negative, well, let's be positive and let's do some things that are positive. So we brought a bunch of people into that, so they're volunteering because you find what drives you.
Yeah.
You find what drives you, and then you decide to. So we do that, and we also do the baby bottle thing. We try to raise a bunch of money. Everybody stuffs loose dollars or change or whatever into a baby bottle, and because they go for grants, they don't get any federal or state. Nobody's going to give the Bakersfield Pregnancy Center any federal or state money. It comes from all
Really?
donations. Yeah, no, no, no,
I
that's never going to
is
happen. Yeah,
is that because of the stigma or what
sure,
why
sure.
would
It's
it never
just
okay.
I could have the federal government. They want to allow abortions and Bakersfield pregnancy. They'll tell you where to go if that's what you decide. But that's not
Okay.
what their role is. Their role is to save lives.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
what their role is. So they're not. They don't go. They go for grants and stuff like that. But most of it's just like kind of local stuff or from a corporation or things like that. But most of it, their big fundraisers coming up. I think on the 20th of this month. And so they have a big fundraiser. It's all volunteerism, and it's just love from the hood. I call it the hood or whatever, the Kern County. This is probably one of the most loving, giving. That's another thing, Ryan. I've lived in a lot of places, and this is probably the most loving and giving community I've ever lived in. And they get a bad rap. One, because of the weather, and two, maybe they're not the most educated people. But I tell you, the people here will literally give you the shirt off their back.
Mm,
That's what I've run into. All the people that I've run into, been involved with, come across, they're all loving, kind, and just willing to do. I'll help you in any way I can. And I love this place. I love Bakersfield. I don't care if they're all its warts. I love this place.
I
Yep.
really it makes me so happy to hear that.
Oh yeah, I love this place. I
Yeah.
love Bakersfield. I love the people, and I love the culture. I love the music. Love the food. We got some great more restaurants that are coming in. And the need is huge here, Ryan. The need is
Yeah.
huge. We got a lot of people in crisis mode. And so we just need everybody to give us 1 hour a week. That's all we're asking. 1 hour, and
Mhm.
you will have an amazing city to live in.
Yeah.
1 hour.
Yeah.
Find something that excites you, something that you will give your time and your efforts. And I'm telling you, I'm telling people all the time, once you get that bug, you'll never let it go.
Yeah.
Never,
Penny, what does a
ever.
perfect day look like for you? I mean, I'm imagining at least the 1
Well,
hour of volunteering.
yeah, well, so I start off all my day, my perfect day. I start out, my husband and I go and work out at our community fitness center.
Okay. Okay.
And then we come home and we always share breakfast, all the time. We always sit at the table, and that's very important. Share and we read through the paper. We talk about current events, and then we talk about, what's on our schedule, what are we doing today, and I like doing things with my husband. I'm
Okay.
usually the fanatic, but Jim is 17 years older than I am, and he is
Okay.
right now kinda struggling through some health issues. So that is the difficult piece right now that we're going through. So so he's gonna probably have to have some surgeries and stuff. As you age, things start to wear
Yeah.
out. So that's
Yep.
that's where he is in his, life. So, right, I am like the support function, but that's what we talk all the time. So everybody, I always find that we communicate all the time. I'm a talker. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows where I stand. So that's my
Yeah.
perfect day. So we are always then heading out to activity or whatever we're doing. But we have a lot of things around the house. We live on a third of an acre. So a week I could be outside gardening. We have a lot of honeydew things, around the house that I do. I do. I'm always. My husband says I'm perpetual motion, that I wear my clothes out from the inside out, constantly moving.
It sounds like he's right.
Yeah, it's constantly moving, but it's pure it is pure joy. I know sometimes it sounds really kind of corny, but it just is.
Yeah.
It's just I have a smile on my face all the time. I'm just having a really good time and enjoying my life.
Yeah.
It's just
What
fun.
and on that third acre you have, I know you're pretty famous for having, Christmas decorations, like, all over it,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Every year?
yeah, yeah. My parents made, all the holidays really, really special. That was my mom's tremendous gift, and I think she was so good at it, I think I didn't figure out Santa Claus was not really real until I was 10 years old, because they
Wait,
were
he's
so
not real?
well, I believe in him. I
Oh,
believe
okay.
in him. I totally believe in him. I believe in everything that, all the love and the kindness and the goodness and the sharing and stuff like that. Absolutely. But it was my parents did a fantastic job. So that's always been really important to me. I love Christmas. If you walk into my house, it looks like Santa Claus belched. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
yeah. So I usually start we can't decorate here on our HOA until the weekend after Thanksgiving, but everything's ready to go. So we're out there decorating all. It takes us about, I don't know, about maybe a week to get everything up. And then in my house I do all my stuff kind of before Thanksgiving, so it's all Christmassy. If I could keep it up all year round, I would, but my husband, no, he won't let me. So
He
but
won't let yeah.
I I love the holidays. Now, if people could just take that act of kindness and that giving and just thread it the rest of the 364 days, again, we would live in an amazing world.
We
If they
really
just
would, yeah.
I don't know, if just don't fear what you don't understand, just educate yourself. That's all you have to do.
That is a huge piece of advice that I hope everyone, including me, can take to heart
Yeah.
more.
And you're gonna make mistakes. That little judgment thing is gonna kick into your head. But if you realize it, like I have surround sound, I have the Lord talking to me. I swear, talking to me out. He's putting people in front of me every single day. It is just amazing. And if you just get rid of that judgment piece, there in the grace of God go you.
Yeah.
Um, and just put that away. And it's an amazing thing. It's the world will really open up to people if they just do that. What you don't understand, just educate yourself about it
Yeah.
and not immediately fear it, because you're beat up with fear all the time, 24/7. It's everywhere you go. It's on the news. It's on the
Mhm.
radio. It's in the newspaper. It's in magazines. It's constant bombardment. You have to really fight hard against that and just
Oh, for
educate
sure.
yourself. Mhm.
We're almost hardwired to fear because, I probably our ancestors needed it to, survive the lion that was attacking or something, right? So you have to fight
Sure.
against it. You have to take the
Mhm.
time to not
Mhm.
go that route. Yeah.
That's right. You'll be better
Yeah.
for it if you do.
And wow, it
That's
sounds
right.
like you have God's voice, like, on Dolby Digital surround going through your head, so you're
Well,
really
right. I moved here in 2006. I was saved in 2009. And my
Oh,
world
that happened after you got to Bakersfield.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know
I mean,
that. Okay.
I always had believed in God. I always did. But I wasn't really connected with him. But, he's, thankfully, he's patient and he's kind and he's forgiving. And I thank God
Yeah.
for that every day too. So no, I was, I was baptized when I was 9. I did that upon myself. But as a child, you go to my mom was the religious one. She's the one that believed in God and stuff. So we went to Sunday school. She took us to church. But what got me going in my teenage years is your brain's muddled anyway. You see people on Sunday one way, and then you see them the rest of the week something completely
Yeah.
different, and not really getting it, not really understanding that's not God's fault, that's their fault. It has nothing to do
Yeah.
with him how they're acting. Has not, but then
Yeah.
you equate it. Well, if that has anything to do with God, I don't want anything to do with it. So you
Right.
and anyway, you rebel and you back away. Well, that happens to all of us. That happens to the best of us. So I reactivated myself, as I say, in 2009, and switched gears, and started listening more. I started listening.
Well,
I'm quiet every morning. I wake up every morning. That's when I start every morning on my knees. And
oh, you do like a prayer or meditation or something, or
oh yeah, I asked for knee pads for Christmas from my husband. And he goes, knee pads. I said, yeah, I'm longer and longer on my knees every morning. I need knee pads. It kind of hurts after a while getting on a pillow. Pillow doesn't work out, so I need some knee pads so I can get on my knees and start my day off with the Lord. And I need knee pads because my knees were getting sore. So,
if you're praying so much you need knee pads, I think you're doing pretty well. It's
yeah, I do it throughout the
yeah.
day. Well, I have a family that's all getting older. I mean, my older brother's going to be 79 in May. I've lost two of
Okay.
them already.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
so, yeah, I have a really large family. So I have to pray for them because everybody goes through struggles. And so so I have a big family I have to pray for, let alone all my friends and neighbors and things like that. And I have to, long time, get everybody on my
Yeah.
list. Can't miss anybody.
Penny, how would you define retirement? I mean, people think about it all sorts of different ways. And we're speaking of stigma, we're kind of trying to get rid of the stigma of retirement because it doesn't have to mean
Oh,
sitting in a lazy boy chair, obviously. That's what people think of.
no, it's,
Obviously, you don't.
no. Like I said, I planned for it, and I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I just wanted to volunteer all the time. But you have to decide. One, it's got to be monetary. So you got to understand. So I want to make sure by the time I was 45, I didn't have any bills. I want to make the big ones. I didn't want to have a mortgage.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of that. That's the ultimate thing. You got to get it right. So you got to plan. Your whole life is your retirement, as you're planning. The ultimate goal is when do you want to do it, and then you got to think outside yourself. Okay, what you got to have something outside your job. You should even have
Yeah.
that now. I mean,
Right.
for crying out loud, I can't imagine. My parents were involved in all sorts of stuff, and their lives were crazy busy, kids
Yeah.
and school and work and all sorts of stuff. So, but they always had hobbies. They always had hobbies, other interests. So I love to sew. I do arts and
Oh, okay.
crafts and stuff. And I like to garden. I love to read. I started a book club here in Solera where I live. I started a book club. So again, so you got to plan, okay, where do I want to be? And so you got to make your adjustments. You got to pay yourself. But retirement is you don't stop learning. You don't just like
Right.
quit and throw out. Like I said, no way. This is when the fun begins.
Yeah. Yeah,
This is when you
exactly.
can spend time with your grandchildren and show them all the beautiful things. And what the cool thing is, you can actually see that stuff that you've taken for granted now through their eyes, and all of a sudden it comes to life again
Yeah.
because you've kind of forgotten what
Right.
it's like to sit down and because we got a bird feeder out here, a hummingbird feeder. And what the coolest thing is we set up a camera and so you can watch it when he comes in. So sometimes we pull the chip out, stick it in the old TV and watch the hummingbird coming in. And it's just the coolest thing ever. But when you get so wrapped up in stuff, you tend to forget those simple things. So then you can get to, if you've never seen the fall leaves, well, now you have an opportunity in retirement to go see that. So you
Yeah.
have those things. So you just have to, what do you want to do? And the earlier you plan, the better off you are. Don't wait till your 40s. If you can start in your 20s, even when you have children, you pay yourself first. You are a bill. I don't care if it's $10. I don't care if it's $20. I don't whatever you can make, but you pay yourself first, and then pay the rest of the bills. And of
Yeah.
course, I went without. Like I said, I went without. I made sacrifices because I knew what I wanted. I knew
Yeah.
I wanted to retire early.
And you did it.
Retirement, you're not dead. You're not dead when you retire. You get to do all the things that you want to do, and it doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. You don't have to start taking all cruises, which is great if you can. Thank the Lord God above that you have that ability. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful. But to me, retirement was my opportunity to volunteer full time. That was my goal, and I did everything I could to afford me that opportunity to be able to do that at a very young age. So again, depends on how bad you want it. Because if you want it
Right.
bad enough, you can get it. You just have to prioritize yourself. Your desires a little bit first. So you're a bill, pay yourself first, and sky's the limit. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
It's pretty
Well,
cool.
Penny.
See, talking out loud, like, oh, because it's just natural for me. But as I start talking out loud, and my husband, I was talking to him about this, and he goes, "Well, yeah, Penn, it's pretty cool what we get to do." Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Wow. You've
You see,
convinced me. I'm going to retire today. I think I'm ready.
yeah, I love it. And you have children, right? You have
I have a
kids. You have kids.
little boy, so I'm actually not going to retire today because I have
Yeah,
more earning to
yeah,
do. He's only
yep.
15 months.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yep. Well, that's cool
So
though. It's really
it
fun.
is.
It's
It's like
fun.
I try to tell people who don't have kids. It's somehow you're exhausted, but it's also the best thing ever. Type of it's
Sure.
that kind of feeling. Yeah.
Well, I'm jealous because I had the cancer, so I couldn't have children. So,
Oh yeah.
because that kind of screwed everything up. It kind of screwed everything up. So, yep, I never could have kids. So that's the other thing. I just give back to other children. So, like I said, I read to 4-year-olds in a pre-kindergarten at Evergreen Elementary. And so that's my
Oh
way of
really?
I give back to children. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do puppets. I was telling Marissa that I do puppets and I do crazy hats and I
Really?
read positive books. Yep. Yeah, this is Chester. This is
Oh,
Chester.
hi
He's one of
Chester.
my many this is one of my he's a rat, but he doesn't like to be called a rat. He likes to be called a mouse because rats are dirty and mean. And
Stigma.
so
Yeah, there's stigma for a rat.
Chester's my main guy. And you can actually call me Sybil because I do all sorts of puppets, all sorts of voices.
Sybil, for
And
people who don't know, had split personality
the
disorder,
split
right?
personality. So that kind of
Yeah.
happens. And what's really interesting, I've been doing this for quite a while, and I had school psychologists show up because they actually watch me because the kids will come up and grab Chester's hands and say, "Miss Penny, can I tell Chester something?" Now he's
Really?
sitting on my hand. Yeah.
So that Penny, do you
So now
mind if I
you've
have a
got
moment alone with Chester?
oh, that'd be funny.
No, no, not me. I don't need to do it. I'm just saying that's what the kids are
Yeah.
saying, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what they do,
yeah.
and they'll tell him whatever, and I'm sitting there, my eyes are like usually as big as saucers because I have no idea what's going to come out of their mouths, and some have been
Yeah.
pretty like wow,
Yeah.
and so I before I go in every Monday I pray before I go in. I said, Lord, give me the words to say to use to help these children. If they happen to ask Chester a question, just give me the words, help me out. So far, I've been successful. Most of it's just
Wow.
common sense and stuff like that. But yeah, these kids have it tough. At 4, they shouldn't have these
Yeah.
kind of issues, but unfortunately, they do.
Yeah.
So
And so you bring in Chester to help.
yeah, Chester
Yeah.
and a plethora. I've got a plethora of puppets, all sorts of, and I read really fun books all about love, kindness, acceptance, tolerance. We're all different, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Even I have a moose. I have a moose who has a speech impediment.
Really?
So
Did you came up with that? All these characters are
yeah,
Penny
yep,
originals?
yep, yeah. Just he has a speech impediment because he's different.
You might
So,
need your own
but it's
TV
okay.
show, Penny.
I have a lot of fun. I even laugh at
Yeah.
myself sometimes. It gets so silly. It gets so silly.
Yeah.
It's just I laugh at myself. Yeah, it's really funny.
I love it.
It's really quite funny. Yeah, it's
Well,
humorous.
Penny Martinez, I think we're going to end it there. I can't top that. So thank you so much for coming on the Happiest Retirees podcast. It's been a pleasure, and I've learned so much.
Oh, it's been a blast. I've loved this. So
Okay.
what a fun job you have.
I really do.
This is
I am
great.
very, very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Great. So thank you for
Okay.
this opportunity. I appreciate it.